Hi, my name is Eamonn O'Neill. I'm one of the founders of Lemongrass, and I run the team for Lemongrass in North America. Lemongrass is a specialist partner. We help SAP customers get all of the workloads from any source platform onto the AWS cloud. And along with Intel, today I want to talk about 6 tips for selecting the best cloud for your SAP system. I've been working in this industry with SAP for about 27 years. And over that time, I've seen a lot of innovation happening for customers on the SAP technology there. Specifically, Intel have been a great innovator. Since 2005, we've seen them work with SAP on the HANA infrastructure, with the early versions of the reference architecture that most people built their early HANA systems on. Now, during all of that time, the selection criteria most customers used when it came to understanding where they would host their SAP system fell into a fairly classic list of cost, service level, and reference customers. While those things are still really important, what we've seen with public cloud is it's really worth extending the selection criteria to include additional items, which we're going to cover today. So these are the 6 tips to include in your selection criteria when selecting the best cloud for SAP. So the first tip is cost. Now, nothing happens in an enterprise without a good business case. So cost is always number 1 on your list. However, what's different about cost in the public cloud is that the negotiated costs you'll receive from a partner or from the hyperscaler may be a little bit misleading. And what I mean by that is there's additional things to consider beyond that list price. First thing is discounts. So discounts are often one-time discounts. So you've got to ask yourself the question, what happens when those discounts run out? So it's really important to understand what is likely to happen is you've got to look back at pricing history, and that gives you a better predictor of what's going to happen in the future. So you're looking for price leadership. Who drives the price down in your market? They're the ones who are most likely to continue to do that going forward. And the second additional consideration around cost is how do you deal with variable spend? So with IaaS, infrastructure as a service, one of the big benefits is you pay for what you use. However, that also means you pay for things you use above budget. So there's a whole new discipline called financial operations or FinOps, which is a key part of IT on the cloud. So you need to understand that the partner you work with is going to help you address the variable spend and make sure you deliver that business case, which is part of your initial move. So cost is critical, as you'd expect. Tip number 2 is reliability. Everyone expects public cloud to be better than what they're experiencing today on premise. And this is absolutely true, of course, but not all clouds are equal. SAP specifically is very sensitive to unplanned downtime. And what you've got to do is look at the public cloud vendors over the last 12 to 18 months and see what their unplanned downtime performance has actually been. Again, a great predictor of what's going to happen going forward. Also look at the instance types supported by Intel. Intel have released a number of specific features that work with SAP to deliver much more resilience. Things like local machine check-based recovery and advanced error detection and correction. Those are great features to include in your selection criteria. Tip number 3, speed of innovation. So this is the innovation that hyperscalers are releasing. And what we notice is some clouds release innovation faster and ahead of the other clouds. So if you want to get the latest technology, there are certain clouds that you would typically go to first. So for example, the Intel 24 terabyte HANA system, which runs on an 8-socket host with the Intel Xeon 2nd generation chipset, is available on AWS. And if you want to use that, AWS is the great place to start from. And while that's today's latest technology, we know that In a few years, they'll be superseded by the next generation, et cetera, et cetera. And this plays out through all of the services that hyperscalers offer. But what's really interesting to think about is that technology adoption curve, with the global speed of innovation across all of technology, that adoption curve is shrinking. And the reason why that's really important is that if there's a 1 year difference between the hyperscaler in terms of the pace of releasing, and if the technology adoption cycle shrinks to less than 1 year, then being on the early adopter platform is all the difference in the world. So look at the different hyperscalers, look at who gets to market first, and the question always becomes, which horse do you want to bet? The one that gets in first or the one that's always second or third? Fourth tip, performance. For SAP users, one of the biggest bugbears that they'll complain about will be generally system performance. So a lot of this can be addressed, obviously, with great technology. You need to access the latest Intel technology, and you'll get the latest Intel capabilities. So again, the second generation Xeon kit offer over 33% more performance than the previous generation. AWS, for example, released the Nitro hypervisor a couple of years back, which is able to release all of the compute power of an instance to the SAP users. So if you want to get access not just to the best technology today, but the best technology next year and the year after and the year after that, again, look for who is working with the best technology providers and who can give you that first. So understanding performance and comparing performance is a critical success factor. Number 5, the ecosystem. One of the very cool things about public cloud is it's got an open API, a programmable interface. And what that means is people all over the world are working in their garages, offices, even bedrooms, trying to come up with new innovations using those public cloud APIs. That's a humongous amount of innovation that's happening globally. So anybody with a credit card can actually start to innovate with the same infrastructure as the biggest enterprises in the world. So I can log on today, create a new account, and have access to over 42 different SAP certified instances on AWS powered by Intel. Everything from tiny instances all the way up to those very large HANA instances I mentioned earlier. And with that, I can actually drive new innovation. But what's really interesting about an ecosystem is there's a network effect with an ecosystem. So when you're a developer, you tend to want to go to where the most customers are first. And when you're a customer, you tend to want to go to where the most innovation is first. So you have this network effect. If you look at the partner ecosystem, you'll get a really good sense of where the additional innovation is going to come from the partner side of things, beyond the core hyperscalers themselves. Tip number 6 is automation. This is the most important ingredient of them all, and a key criteria to ask your partners about. Automation of SAP allows you to do things with very high quality, repeatable, reliable, and predictable. And high quality build and maintenance helps take noise out of your system. And removing the noise means you can do things more reliably and more quickly. So for example, we see plenty of people on premise who've built the landscape manually because that's the only way to do it. And the manual defects that people make cause problems as they try to do future changes. So even something as simple as trying to do a kernel patch with an on-premise system often results in it taking quite a while, driving up cost, and generating anxiety within the SAP team. However, it shouldn't be like that. It should be much more robust. SAP is really well architected, and you should be able to make changes quickly. Of course, the side effect of automation is not just high quality, it's also things happen much faster, which means you can now turn to the project team and the business, and when they want to try something new with the infrastructure and with the landscape, you can respond much quicker. So if the business or project want to do a system refresh for pre-production testing, you can do that instantly. And not just from an SAP config and data point of view, but also from an underlying infrastructure point of view. You can have an identical Intel-powered instance in that copied system to the specification in the production system. And that's true across all of the families, up to 42 different families of instances that are available, for example, on AWS powered by Intel. So the ability to have things both higher quality and faster help drive agility. And agility is really important for innovation. So you can't innovate without being agile, and you cannot be agile without automating SAP. So a really important conversation to have with your partner and with your hyperscaler is who is best at doing automation of SAP. So in summary, there are 6 tips: cost, reliability, speed of innovation, performance, the ecosystem, and automation. So you should bring these criteria to your trusted partners like Intel, AWS, and of course, Lemongrass. Good luck with your selection, and let us know how we can help. Thank you.